Are you looking for hot takes and guests yelling over top of each other? Well, you came to the wrong place. This is the final word where we talks about sports like they used to. All opinions are welcome, but that doesn't mean you are right. Hosted by Greg Rector. Welcome in.
Good evening, everybody. This is Greg Rector, otherwise known as Greg Cowboys on X and at Blue Sky and all that fun sort of stuff. And I also have with me Monte Perez, the guy who got me started doing this sort of stuff years ago. And now he's the guest and I'm the host.
Greg,
Monte.
it's always a pleasure to have you on. It seems like so long ago. I still remember on my show when you came on the first time, I was doing a podcast. I didn't even have a YouTube show. And you were so knowledgeable with your take on Cowboys and so passionate about it. So great I'm so happy to be on here, and thank you so much. Great to see you.
Oh, it's always good to see you, Monte. We disagree on many things, but
Yes.
Again, there are many things that we do agree upon. We're going to start out tonight talking about Major League Baseball. Of course, there you see the picture of Aaron Judge and that small guy beside him plays for the Mets. But Major League Baseball this year, I don't see any real dominant team out there except for the Detroit Tigers. Do you?
Yeah, it's actually weird because when you think of the baseball, we talked about this years ago, how baseball has really become a have and have-nots. It's really the team that spends the most money, the Yankees, the Mets, the Red Sox, obviously the Dodgers, even though people don't think the Dodgers spend the most money because Shohei Ohtani kind of deferred a lot of his money for tax purposes, whatever. But it's really the team that spend the most money that are definitely doing the best job right now in Major League Baseball. I don't see, Greg, how the Pittsburgh Pirates, the Tampa Bay Devil Rays, the Kansas City Royals have been good. But let's be honest, Moneyball is not sustainable in Major League Baseball. As a Met fan, I love it. We just went out and got Juan Soto, and the Mets are dominating right now and playing great baseball. Without Juan Soto hitting, Juan Soto is batting .229, just hit a home run today. But you look at Major League Baseball, and it's not like the NFL where there's a hard cap, or the NBA where Oklahoma City Thunder and possibly Indiana, the two smallest markets, will be in the NBA Finals, Greg. It's all about the haves and have-nots, and the teams that spend the most money in baseball, it's a direct result with them getting to the postseason. I think 6 out of the top 8 highest payrolls last year made the postseason.
Yeah, exactly. And of course, you and I both agree that the Mets are the much better team up in New York.
Yes, I agree with that.
Now, the evil empire is just
Yes.
a horrible place with horrible fans. Joe and Jeff, I'm sorry, but you're horrible baseball fans. My last trip to New York, I did go to Citi Field because it had just opened there.
What'd you think of it? It's beautiful, right?
I loved it. I love Citi Field.
Yeah,
and
really nice.
I did go out to the Bronx that time too, and and put up with those loudmouth fans of theirs. I left after the 7th inning, though. The Yankees were losing that day. I think it was 7-2 or something. I left after the 7th inning because the Yankees fans just drive me up the deep end.
It's so funny because people are booing Juan Soto when he was with the Yankees, obviously last year. And one of the reasons why Juan Soto left, he goes, for lack of a better term, he goes, I didn't like the toxic masculinity environment. That way, if you don't remember last year, someone hit a home run and they were doing the Donald Trump dance, running around the bases, and he did not like that at all. And people say all the time, "Oh, how can you leave for money?" Who stays at a job nowadays for 30, 40, 50 years? One of us. I work for the University of Fort Lauderdale right now. I'm the voice of them. I broadcast football, basketball, baseball. If I get offered a job with more money, it's going to take a lot for me to stay. So he not only wanted to make money, but he wanted to go somewhere where he felt comfortable. And when you see the Yankee fans with the disgusting signs and like killing this guy, like a fan is short for fanatical. I never, ever, ever get upset when a fan leaves. I've lived in 7 states now, so I've traveled all across the country. So I'm not one of these people that say, oh, I was born here, I have to stay here, and I have to stay loyal. I don't believe in that. The owners aren't loyal. They'll sell you out or cut your contract as quickly as they can. So why should the players be loyal?
Well, no, exactly. And in Major League Baseball, because there is no salary cap, they get whatever they get. And if these owners want to give them that much money, like Vladimir Guerrero is going to be a $35.5 million a year good until he's 41. There you go. Okay. Well, that's what he gets. You know, that's just the way that the marketplace works, right?
Right. But Greg, you and I would agree with this. Not Jordan, not LeBron, not Ohtani. Now, maybe you could say Ohtani because internationally he brings in so much money for the Dodgers that every time that guy plays, he makes money for the Dodgers. But nobody is worth $25, $30, $40 million. Cancer, if you're not curing a disease, if you're not saving millions of lives, no basketball, football, but no one's worth that money, Greg. No one.
No, these guys aren't. You know, and we've had this discussion about Dak Prescott being the wealthiest quarterback in the NFL. Okay, but Dak Prescott also makes more money off the field than any other player in the NFL, which people don't understand. He makes more money off the field than Patrick Mahomes.
Well, and Greg, you know, you and I could empathize with this because you grew up and you love the Dallas Cowboys. I grew up loving the New York Knicks. The Dallas Cowboys are still top 3 in the most profitable franchises. They haven't been to a Super Bowl since Troy Aikman. The Knicks haven't been to a finals since, 1999, 2000. So, you know, when Allen Houston was there. So, and yet the Knicks are top 3 in the most profitable NBA organizations. So, you know, I always say this as a fan, you know, do better. Like, why are we like, if I'll give you an example. I watched maybe 3 Jet games last year. I like football too much. So why would I sit there and watch the Jets lose week after week or Giant fans complaining that they have to watch? No, you don't. There's plenty of streaming services that you could have where you could watch other teams. So, Greg, I don't understand how, and this is America, a lot of times we support a failing product. Again, the Knicks have not been to the NBA Finals because of their owner since 2000. Dallas Cowboys haven't been there since Troy Aikman. What's the common denominator? 2 incompetent owners.
Absolutely right. I mean, Eric and I, on my first episode of The Final Word here, the second episode, we went after the Cowboys tooth and nail about Jerry Jones and Stephen Jones and the way that they don't spend the real money that the other teams do and all that sort of stuff. We talk about that all the time, right? And it drives me off the deep end as far as that goes. The Mets sit in second place currently. Do they have enough to get by Philadelphia?
Yeah, I mean, they beat Philadelphia last year, and I think Philadelphia will take a step back. What's so surprising about the Mets is, first of all, Edwin Diaz has faced 30 straight batters and has not given up a hit. So Edwin Diaz, their closer, is back on fire. The Mets are winning right now with Lindor's contributing. Pete Alonso started hot. He was batting like 330. He's now batting 280. But again, Juan Soto hit a home run today, but he was batting 229 coming into this game. The Mets have talent. They have depth. I'm very disappointed in their catcher, Francisco Alvarez. They were projecting this guy. He was the #1 prospect in all of baseball. This was voted by general managers. The #1 prospect in AAA. They said he was going to be another form of Mike Piazza. He's done a much better job of throwing runners out, but he's now batting 9th in the lineup. His offense is terrible. I expected this guy to be a phenomenal hitter, hit over 330, 30 home runs, but he hasn't been doing it. Beatty, the guy who young third baseman, and Vientos, who they called up last year, hot and cold. They'll go, 0 for 18, 0 for 20. So the Mets right now are winning with their pitching, and you know this in the postseason. It was weird last year because the Dodgers basically won the World Series using their number 10, 11, and 12 pitchers. They had no one healthy in their staff, and they
don't have them healthy again this year right now either, right?
Right? No, they don't. They don't.
But they're still in first place. Mookie Betts is out this weekend though because he stubbed his toe at home. Okay.
I like Mookie Betts. I think he's on the back nine of his career. Greg, without jumping all over the place, but this is a baseball stat, and we could talk about this with if we talk about hockey and we talk about the NBA and NFL. It took a long time for a team to win back-to-back Super Bowls, and the Chiefs did it last time. The Patriots did it. In NBA, I think we're going to have an 8th straight different NBA champion this year. And with the Dodgers too, it's hard. The Dodgers took a long time for them to win a World Series since the 80s. They won one a few years ago. They won one last year. But it's hard to repeat in any sport. We're seeing that more and more. A lot of these young players, they want to get paid after they win a title. They get a little complacent. It's hard to win back-to-back championships in any sport.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely right. When we talk about the Stanley Cup, this year, you have both teams coming back. This is only the 3rd time in the last 50 years that's ever happened. The Oilers and the Islanders in 83 and 84, Pittsburgh and Detroit in the early 2000s, and now you have Edmonton and Florida. So if you're going to win a title, you better be thankful that you get that one title, and that's the bottom line of that.
Well, I mean, Greg, this is a classic matchup because I love McDavid. I love the offense of Edmonton. It's not reminiscent of Gretzky and Messier because there's not 4 or 5 lines that can dominate, but they want to get up and play back and forth, high scoring. And I hate to root against Edmonton because I despise Florida. First of all, the fans are not good fans. They had their when they won last year, they had their parade at the beach. So it's kind of not like a traditional team. And again, if they stink, no one shows up. You could get tickets for $6 to $8 in Sunrise. But Greg, I'm nervous because Florida they just wear you down. And I've seen games this year where Florida looks terrible, but they always bounce back. They have the experience. They were up 3-0 last year, right? And then Edmonton won 2 in a row, if I remember correctly.
No, it went to 7 games. They went 7.
All right. And then Edmonton was down 3-0, right?
Edmonton was down 2-0.
And then 3-1?
2-0 and 3-1.
Right.
They came back and won 2 and then lost the 7th
right.
game.
So hopefully Edmonton learned from this, but it's 2 contrasting styles. Florida can score with anyone, but they want to keep it 3-2. Edmonton wants the open ice, get on the power play, and dominate. So who do you have winning the series?
Well, this year the finals start in Edmonton.
Right. And it starts Wednesday, right?
It starts Wednesday.
Yeah.
So you're going to hear "Oh Canada" real loud.
Love it.
Like, I mean, there is no fan base on earth who sings the "Oh Canada" like the Edmonton Oilers fans do. Like that.
No, it's beautiful to watch.
Yeah, I mean, and they just go for it. For me, the Edmonton Oilers have had a much better year defensively than they've had in many, many years. And this is why they ended up beating the Islanders back in 84, because in 83, they were that run and gun team, right? They didn't understand how to win in the playoffs. Well, when they lost to the Islanders in 4 straight, they came back that next year and they dominated the Islanders with 2-1 scores, 3-2 scores. And this year, they've had 6 games with 2 goals or less. Stuart Skinner, who looked like a disaster area the first 2 games against the Kings, he came back after Pickard got hurt, and he shut out the Vegas Golden Knights 2 games in a row. He shut out Dallas in 1 game this series. So he has been on fire. He scares the heck out of me, though. As a goalie, he does scare me. But if Edmonton comes out and attacks Florida the way that Florida attacks that other teams, and Edmonton has 4 lines this year, all 4 lines, they've got goal scorers up and down that roster now. This is a different team than the McDavid and Draisaitl team.
Yeah.
So,
although those guys are still thriving, and the one thing you know, and the Florida goalie has 12 wins. For the most part, he's been great when he has to be. That's my biggest question, because in hockey, you know this, when a goalie gets hot, they can win a series. And that's just everything to me favors Edmonton except the goalie matchup, and that's what I'm scared of. I do not want to see Florida win.
But Bobrovsky's been giving up goals this year.
Right. Got 12 wins in the playoffs, though.
I know, but so do the Oilers. They've won 12. They've won 12 out of the last 14 games. So these two teams are equal in that aspect. They are red hot. If Florida doesn't get called for penalties the way that they should, then they'll probably end up winning this series. But if Florida takes those penalties, especially a guy like Tkachuk and Reinhart and Bennett, those guys play dirty. They play hard and dirty, basically. And they added Brad Marchand too from the Bruins, right?
Yeah. So,
I mean, and Marchand has been there, but Corey Perry has 7 goals this playoff series, which is the most anybody the age of 39 or over has ever scored in the Stanley Cup.
That's good.
He's been phenomenal. It's like, and I've never been a huge Corey Perry fan, because I remember when he was in Anaheim, the way that they gooned up the Ottawa Senators that year, that was just horrifying to watch.
Okay, so is the feel in Edmonton more confident than it was last year? Are you guys going in this expecting to win, or is it a 50-50 toss-up?
It's still a 50-50 toss-up, but the Edmonton Oilers, Connor McDavid touched the trophy this year.
Yeah, I saw that.
Because last year he didn't, and they lost, right? So he just said, I'm going to do this. But the Edmonton Oilers do have the home ice advantage, and that's what they have to maintain. Yeah, because I think this likely goes 7 games.
Right. And listen, this Edmonton, especially in the playoffs, they travel pretty well. And you could get seats in Florida. Even though it's the Stanley Cup, you could get seats there. Trust me. I've seen opposing teams come in during playoffs, and it's about 70-30, 80-20. So Edmonton could travel well with their fans. And if they go up 2-0, I want to see Florida in every game playing from behind, because I think Edmonton gets out to that's got to be the key. And I want to see the Edmonton on the power play and just dominate Florida and take advantage of the power play.
Well, McDavid's point total?
No, he's got 26 for the playoffs, but number one in power
22,
play.
22 of those points are at even strength. And Draisaitl is scoring at even strength as well.
That's a great sign.
That has been really, really good for them. So, yeah. So again, I'm praying and hoping that the Oilers do win the Stanley Cup. Let's go to the NBA. Your Knicks.
They're not my Knicks. They're not my Knicks.
Yes, they are. You've always been a Knicks fan. You grew up in that region, so you loved the Knicks as a kid.
Yes,
we understand that.
But Greg, this, forget about Jerry Jones, right? Let's just talk about James Dolan, the owner of the Knicks. One of the most incompetent owners. He got the Knicks as, I think, a 40th birthday present from his father.
From Daddy.
From Daddy. He gave him MSG. So one of the first decisions he made, MSG used to carry the Yankees. The Yankees wanted to they wanted to charge him an extra like $5 million. He said no. Do you know what the Yes is worth in the Yankees right now? Over $1 billion a year in profit. So that's his first decision he made. We're not going to pay the Yankees $5 million. Like, there's nothing going on on MSG Network if you're not carrying the Rangers and the Knicks. So it took up the summer. He turned that down. But one of the reasons why I despise the Knicks so much now is because, Greg, I hate Villanova. I do not like the Villanova Wildcats. My brother George went to school there. I was always a Syracuse fan. I'm a Duke fan. So, like, rooting for the Knicks, I'm rooting for the Pacers. I am. I'm rooting for the Pacers. And one of the things that really, really bothers me is, and maybe I'm overreacting here, but after the Knicks beat the Celtics without Jason Tatum, the Knicks fans took to the streets and they shut down Manhattan celebrating. I'm like, you didn't get to the NBA Finals. You didn't win the Finals. You beat a decimated Celtic team, and you're in the streets like you want. Listen, people want to make fun of the Lakers for hanging a in-season banner up in Staples Center or whatever it's called now, and the Knicks fans are out. I'm like, you haven't won jack. You know what yet? Why are you celebrating, Knicks fans? The most ignorant, and for any Knicks fan that says it's fixed, it's rigged, the refs don't want the Knicks. If you think that, one, Caitlin Clark is not going to get every foul call when she comes back, or that the NBA doesn't want the Knicks, a cash cow, money-making machine, the NBA wants the Knicks in the finals, and the WNBA wants Caitlin Clark in the finals. Those are facts.
Well, absolutely. But again, the boys on Madison Avenue are not going to see the Knicks in the final. Pascal Siakam, remember him from 2019? I think you remember that year, 2019.
Luckiest shot in the history of the world.
Never you mind. It was a beautiful thing, and it aggravated the hell out of you, so it made me happy. But I want you to know something. I did not watch one single Laker game this year. Not one. Why?
Really?
Yeah, because they hired that coach from the Puke U.
Oh, come on.
I don't like him. I don't like that school. You know I don't like that school. And I did not watch a single Lakers game. The team that I support, and this was in the DM room that we have for Team NBS Media. I said the OKC Thunder.
Yeah.
Boom.
Yeah.
Because they have SGA, Hamilton, Ontario, Lucas Dort, Montreal. And SGA deserved the MVP award. Do you agree with me?
100%. I mean, first of all, they're the youngest team over the last 20 years to get to the NBA Finals. One thing I love about SGA, people say, oh, his game is boring. He never takes a bad shot. He's never off balance. Greg, he had one game this year, one game where he didn't score 20 points the entire season in a game. He's beyond efficient. He shoots almost 90% from the free throw line. And this is a young team that when they got rid of Josh Giddey, guys like Williams and Chet Holmgren have stepped up. Getting Hardestein and Caruso were huge additions. This way Chet doesn't have to bang. He can play on the outside. But getting back to the Knicks, it's interesting because I think if the Pacers win tonight or if they win Game 7, I think the Pacers are going to win the series. I actually had them winning in 6. I just thought that their depth and the way they run up and down, the Knicks would be exhausted. But one of the things the Pacers struggle is they struggle in the half-court offense. And we know that the strength of OKC is their half-court defense. So the Pacers want to get up.
Absolutely.
Pacers want to get up and down. I think the Pacers win tonight. I think Siakam and Halliburton both have over 25 points. And I just think that the Knicks run out of gas here. Again, it's been a great season for them. But moving forward, the Knicks are going to have to make some deals because Cat and Brunson on the court together are such defensive liabilities. It's not even funny. You put those guys in a pick and roll situation or a pick and pop, they are lost time and time again. And that's why both of them in the games that they've lost have gotten into foul trouble. Rick Carlisle, Greg, correct me if I'm wrong, but is he the most underrated head coach in the NBA?
Oh, I think he is very underrated. Just as I told everybody that Kenny Atkinson deserved another head coaching job, and look what the job he did at Cleveland.
Yep.
Which was very good, right? But Rick Carlisle knew how to beat the Cleveland Cavaliers. He knew what they had to do. And again, the Indiana Pacers also have a couple of Canadians on their roster as well, Monty.
Yeah, how'd that Canadian team do in the Olympics, Greg? How'd that team do? How'd they do? Yeah.
No. It's going to happen in Los Angeles.
Okay. All right. Listen, I love RJ Barrett. I do love RJ Barrett.
RJ Barrett, by the way, which I said to you because you were such a huge Zion fan.
Boy, did I miss on that one.
RJ Barrett would be the better professional, and I told you that when he came out the same year as Zion. RJ Barrett has been a much better professional than Zion. And of course, now Zion's got some legal issues as well.
Oh, he's a mess.
Yeah, I mean, and this is the whole thing. These kids who come out after 1 year are not NBA ready. They just aren't. Now, of course, the NBA lost their antitrust case, so they have to give everybody the opportunity after their freshman season to be an NBA player. The NFL won their case, so you can't come out until you're a junior, right?
Right. Well, and I think you have to be 20 or 21 in the NFL. So, but Greg, here's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping that players, because they're making so much money, we're seeing it in football now, in college football, and we're seeing it hopefully. I didn't want Cooper Flagg to come out. I'm a Duke fan, and the Boozer twins are going to be phenomenal. And he's got Shire's got another top 5 recruiting class. But I'm hoping that because the money is so good in college right now, that players stay an extra year. You know, growing up, Greg, you know this, we saw the Chris Mullins, the Patrick Ewings, we saw those players grow and develop. And Kevin Durant was one and done. Trae Young was one and done. But it took those guys a year or two to really, develop and understand the game. And those were probably the 2 guys who came out right away and dominated early and have sustained it. But for every Kevin Durant, for every Trae Young, there's a guy who's drafted late in the first round or the second round who's in the NBA for a year or two, and then they don't know where to go. So I'm hoping that with the NIL money, that more and more players stay an extra year or two.
It would only serve them because they do get that money to stay and get coached up better. Because you know how I despise everybody firing up those 3-point shots all game long. That is just not basketball.
Right.
Well, just isn't.
Greg, let me say this. So one of the reasons why I love SGA is because he doesn't dunk over you. He doesn't shoot the 53s a game. And this is what I've been proposing on my TikTok page, on my YouTube channel. So here's what I propose. Get rid of the 3-point line except foul line extended. So no more corner threes where guys like PJ Tucker can just stand there or Danny Green can just shoot the 3. So get rid of the 3, right? Get rid of the 3 in the corner. And then here's a radical idea, Greg. 2 minutes of every quarter, make a dunk 3 points. So at the end of the game, you're not just guarding the 3-point line. You're rewarding aggressiveness. You're rewarding a dunk over someone. We got to do something because all the NBA has become is the Celtics shooting 73 pointers a game. It's ugly to watch. They're taking out all the aggressiveness out of it. And if you want to make a dunk other than a fast break, 3 points, make it 3 points so you make up for that corner 3. But we got to do something. I don't think goaltending should. I think goaltending inside the paint, you can't stand there and block a 3-point shot. But inside the paint, there should be no such thing as goaltending. Let's get aggressiveness and physicality back into the game because right now it's all 3-point shots. And how many times, Greg, do you see in the playoffs a guy has a layup and he kicks it out to a teammate for a 3?
Or even worse, they're going down 3-on-1.
And they're shooting
3-on-1. Yeah. And the 2 guys go to the outside, and I'm just like, what? What is no? It's a bounce pass. You lay the ball in there. You're done. Or you draw a foul, right? That is just fundamental basketball.
But Greg, that's why SGA is so fundamentally sound because, like Kawhi Leonard, he gets to his elbow jump shot. He gets to his spots. He can shoot the 3, but it's not his whole offense. He's one of the complete offensive guards I've ever seen in my life.
He's just phenomenal at it. He is just phenomenal. Yes, sir.
And one of the worst. People don't talk about this enough. One of the worst trades in the history of the NBA. And people say, well, Monty, at the time, Paul George was an all-star. You don't judge a trade by at the time. If the Jets go out and get Patrick Mahomes and they give up 10 number 1 draft picks and Patrick Mahomes doesn't get them to the Super Bowl and gets hurt and his career's over, you can't say, oh, at the time that was a good trade. You judge a trade 3, 4, 5 years in. The Clippers thought they'd go to the NBA Finals with Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. They didn't even sniff the NBA Finals. No. And look at what Oklahoma City got. They got a bunch of draft picks, and now who's one of the youngest players in the league, and they got the MVP. And what a terrible trade, and no one talks about that.
The OKC Thunder are the youngest team in the NBA, and they have 2 first-round picks the next 3 seasons as well.
Yep.
I mean, that's phenomenal.
And I will say this too, like they could do something because they have such a young nucleus of players. They have great options because you could trade, a Williams or a Chet Holmgren and stockpile more picks, or you could keep those guys, trade those picks away and get another veteran scorer. They have so much flexibility. Now, look, you don't want to say, I never want to say, oh, this team's going to run it back 2, 3, 4 years, because everyone thought the Celtics could do that this year. And look what happened to them. But
I never bought into the Celtics repeating this year. Because I don't like the Celtics to begin with.
Right. And you don't like their style of play.
I don't like their style of play either. Exactly right.
But I'm saying that they're so young, and win or lose now, they are prepared and set up for the way they're built to be a top team in the West. And that's why if I'm Giannis, I don't go to San Antonio. I don't go to a Phoenix. I stay somewhere in the East because I don't want to go out West and deal with San Antonio, who's up and coming. I don't want to deal with Dallas, who, when healthy, you have Kyrie, Anthony Davis, and Cooper Flagg. I want to stay in the East because, and this is why Knicks fans are so upset with me, because I said it's either this year or you're not getting it.
Yep. So did you see the Make Believes lose their series? Did you see that?
I saw part of it. Yes, I did.
Yeah, because I felt bad for there's our number one Make Believe fan. Yeah, I didn't feel any sympathy whatsoever for Joe, none, because they're the Make Believes, 58 years and counting, and I love the fact that they're.
As someone who watched the Ranger games and cried as a young kid when they used to lose to the Islanders every year or the Flyers, the Rangers didn't win. The chant used to be 1940. And until Mark Messier, who I believe to this day is the greatest leader in the history of sports for any generation, 6 cups, won 1 without Gretzky and Edmonton, comes to New York and wins a cup after they didn't win for, since 1940. I feel bad for the Maple Leafs. I want them to get it. It's like Cub fans. I felt bad for Cub fans. They finally won. I'm a Boston Red Sox guy because I hated the Yankees. So it was good to see. So I feel bad for the Maple Leafs. And my brother said it. He's like, man, they're jinx. And I said, they're not jinx. It's just incompetent ownership. It's why the Knicks haven't won. It's why Dallas hasn't won. When you have incompetent ownership, it's why the Sacramento Kings aren't going to win. When you have incompetent ownership, it's not a jinx. Your team sucks because of your owners.
See, he doesn't want anybody's sympathy. So there you go. And he doesn't get any from me when it comes to those make-believes.
I felt so bad for them. I felt so bad because I know how passionate. Greg, you don't know what it's like to go since 1940, growing up every year your team. I mean, think about this. Jets, Knicks, Mets, Rangers. I've had 86, too young to know what the hell was going on. I couldn't appreciate the Mets winning. 94, loved hockey. That was it. That's all I have, Greg. I don't have anything. My 4 major sports teams, the Jets won it in 68, 69 with Joe Namath. Mets won it in 86. Knicks won it in 73. Like, what do we, as someone who's lived that, I always feel bad for fans when they go through that drought. It's horrible.
Well, just end the season needs to move back to New York.
Yeah.
I don't care where they have to do with this, but get back into New York.
Go back to Citi Field.
Whatever they need to do.
I mean, it used to be Shea Stadium where they used to play, and then they moved to they share a stadium with the They'll always be the little brother. They share a stadium with the Giants. Yep.
Absolutely. Right. And again, that's the way the cookie crumbles for the New Jersey just end the season and the New Jersey midgets, as I refer to them. Come on. Now.
Could be the 2 worst teams next year, even with Justin Fields. The thing is, the Jets have talent on both sides of the ball, right? They had talent. But Aaron Rodgers was a virus. Everywhere Aaron Rodgers goes, he's either sexually harassing someone or spewing transgender nonsense instead of playing football. And Aaron Rodgers has to do that now because he's not a top 10 quarterback anymore. So he's got to draw attention to himself. When you dominate and you're a great player, you could talk all you want and no one's going to say anything because you're a dominant player. But Aaron Rodgers has to spew his nonsense, because if he didn't, no one would pay attention to him, because nobody wants him. Nobody wants Aaron Rodgers.
Well, if Pittsburgh ends up with him, that's fine.
Go for it, Pittsburgh. Go for it.
You know, there's your 1 year wonder or whatever the case may be. But guess what? You're going to end up the same place that the Jets ended up last season, out of the playoffs. Which suits me just fine, because the Tomlin's always been in the playoffs for those 18 seasons. That's getting too close to Coach Landry.
Well, good point there. But I will say this: you know what? What's going to happen if Aaron Rodgers goes to Pittsburgh? He's going to go to play the Baltimore Ravens, and Lamar Jackson is going to outplay him. He's going to go to play the Bengals, and Joe Burrow is going to outplay him. He's going to be the third best quarterback in a league where, let's be honest, the Browns have 5 quarterbacks on their roster. We don't know what the hell they're doing. Okay.
Yep.
They got Shedeur Sanders. They got my boy Dylan from Oregon. They got, so Aaron Rodgers, you're going to go and he's going to go to Pittsburgh if he does, and he's going to get outplayed by Lamar Jackson, and he's going to get outplayed by Joe Burrow. So you have the third best quarterback in a division where you need your quarterback to make plays, and he's not going to be able to do it.
I never liked him when he came out of Cal. He'd only won 7 games. That's the most games he ever won. So this guy thought he was going to be the first overall draft pick. And when San Francisco didn't take him, they took Alex Smith instead. And he comes out after he finally gets picked by the Green Bay Packers, and he's whining and crying about all that. No, don't do that BS. That reminded me of Eric Lindros, right?
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, the great flyer, power forward who was so dominant until what's his name? Scott Stevens. Scott Stevens gave him like 4 concussions in 5 years.
Well, because Eric Lindros didn't understand how to play with his head up instead of down.
Exactly. And hockey was much more physical back then.
Well, yeah. I love Scott Stevens just for that fact.
Listen, I was a Ranger fan, and I got to be honest with you. I think the Devils, and fans are probably going to be like, why are they talking so much hockey? But the Devils and the Detroit Red Wings in that era were the best 2 teams in the 90s and early 2000s, with Stevie Yzerman. And that go look at that Detroit Stanley Cup run with all those players. It was Konstantinov was just a phenomenal. I mean, it was Fedorov. Just Fedorov. It was just crazy, that lineup.
Yeah. But even before they won their cup, when it was Yzerman, Gallant, and Paul McLean together as a line.
Yep.
Those 3 guys were on my fantasy hockey team every single year. Because it's just points, absolute points.
Greg, well, how come you're not on camera? Where'd you go?
Well, I am here.
All right. I just noticed. I'm like, where'd you go? No, so I mean, listen, I don't know what.
And Martin Brodeur as well.
Martin Brodeur, who just don't let Martin Brodeur. If you're married to him, don't let a babysitter come into the house. That's all I'm going to say on that one. For those of you who don't know the story, we won't get into it. No, actually, we should get into it. Martin Brodeur Martin Brodeur's wife's sister was the babysitter, and he left his wife for the wife's sister. So the aunt became the stepmom.
Yep.
Just horrific.
Yeah.
That's
yeah. There are plenty of bad stories in the world of hockey.
Yeah.
That don't get talked about.
They don't.
Like, we knew full well when I was living here in Calgary what Doug Gilmour was all about.
Listen,
he was about those young ones. That was it.
What was the Ted Nolan? Remember him?
Yep.
The great coach for the Sabres. Then he was dating a couple of the players' wives on his team. Ted Nolan. They banned it. Like, the players were like, no, we're not putting on. He hasn't coached since.
No, exactly that. Right.
Someone should do it. Some should do an ESPN 30 for 30 on that.
Well, TSN has done one on Nolan.
Okay.
So of course, you guys don't get to see the TSN stuff down there.
No.
Even though ESPN owns 40% of the network, you guys don't get to see the TSN stuff. But going back to our previous discussion here regarding the
The Pacers?
The Pacers and the Knicks coming up.
Yeah, I think the Pacers. I think the Pacers close out. I think Halliburton has got to get involved early offensively. You know, it's funny because I was just saying this to my brother before we went out to eat. They asked Pascal Siakam after Game 5. I don't know if you saw this. They said, you know, you guys came out sluggish, and Pascal Siakam said, yeah, they just played harder than us tonight. And the reporter said, wait, I don't understand. What do you mean they played harder? He's like, yeah, they played harder. He's like, how is that possible? It's the reporter said, I could see you missing shots, but how can another team play harder than you? And Pascal Siakam got pissed off, and who's a very mild-mannered guy. And he's like,
oh,
yeah.
Who
is this guy? He's like, who is this guy? What do you – but I didn't like that answer. Like they played harder, you know, like or they wanted it more. Now, I understand Game 5, Knicks are desperate at home. You got the Garden crowd. That game was so predictable after the first quarter. I expect the Pacers to come out today and be up like 25-10, 30-16. I expect them to be on full blitz, go out, rock them, hit them early, and then, you know, I would not be shocked if I actually bet that the Pacers are going to win by at least 4. I would not be shocked if the Pacers win by 10 or 12. Do you agree with that, or am I crazy?
No, you're not crazy at all. I have the Pacers winning tonight. Bottom line.
You think it's going to be a blowout?
I think they win by 20.
Okay.
I think they take the Knicks out by 20. And every Dallas Cowboys fan out in this world who always has to put up with SAS and his attack on us as fans, because that's what he does. You go to Stephen A. Smith X or I don't care what social media brand you go to, but you give him a hard time about his love for the Knicks, just like he does to us for our love of the Cowboys.
Well, and I will say this, like when they go to Stephen A. Smith, or like one of the things that annoys the hell out of me, like I think before the Super Bowl, the last Kansas City Chiefs game, they showed Taylor Swift for like 48 seconds. Like they documented, they showed her for like a total of 48 seconds.
Yep.
Do I have to see Spike Lee after every bad call, on the road? Like, I don't give a crap about Spike Lee. He's not part of the team. He's not an owner. Like, stop. They show Spike Lee at least 2 or 3 minutes of every game, and it annoys the hell out of me. I don't mind Taylor Swift
which, as you know, also drove me crazy about the Raptors coverage because of Drake.
He's
not a member of the team. He's not part of that team. Stop focusing and stop talking to this guy.
I understand.
Ridiculous.
I understand that if you're the Toronto Raptors and you do a broadcast, a home broadcast, and you want to show Drake to show fans he's there, that's fine. I understand if you're MSG and you want to show Spike Lee, oh, look at all the fans. But like, I don't give a rip that all these celebrities are watching the Knicks. Like, and again, you have Ben Stiller, Spike Lee saying that the refs don't like us. Yeah. The NBA is dying for the Knicks to be in the finals. Dying. They do not want the Pacers and Greg, you and I will watch it because we're basketball fans and we'll appreciate the contrasting styles, the get up and go versus a great defense. And both of these teams are young with some veterans. We'll love the series, but the casual fan's not going to watch. So for any Knick fan, again, if you think that this is rigged, you're on crack. If anything, they want the Knicks to win.
Oh, Madison Avenue would love to have the Knicks in there. Bottom line, everybody understands that, but they're not going to be there. It will be the Pacers and the Thunder. Again, like you said, 2 of the smallest markets in the NBA, but both teams play team basketball.
And they use their depth.
They use their depth as well. Exactly right. I was going to say that, Thibodeau got it lucky with the one game there because he finally used his bench guys. Yeah. But again, we've argued about Thibodeau many times that he just kills his team. He kills his team by having his players out there for far too long.
And Greg, can we just call it like it is? I would rather have, if I'm a coach, I would rather have Tyrese Halliburton as my point guard than Jalen Brunson, who just dribbles. Jalen Brunson is a great scorer, but he's under 6'3", he's undersized, and he's a ball stopper. He's a Allen Iverson, when it comes to offense, just dribble, dribble, dribble. And how many times do I see Jalen Brunson start at the top of the key, dribble all around, go into the paint, come out? Like, it's so ugly. You can win games with Jalen Brunson's style. You can win playoff games, but you can't win a title with a guy under 6'3" who just holds the ball nonstop and just is a one-on-one ball stopper. I would rather have Tyrese Halliburton as my point guard than Jalen Brunson any day of the week, because Tyrese Halliburton can score, but he's a willing passer. He gets people involved. The ball doesn't stick with him. Jalen Brunson is a ball stopper. It's so ugly to watch.
It's not the way basketball should be played. And we both agree. That is not how you play basketball. Right? I mean, it's reminiscent to me of a college team. The way that the Knicks attack the game of basketball. This is the pro.
Yeah, well, they do have all those Villanova guys. So, and they give up five picks for Mikal Bridges. So,
yep. The Vanderbilt guys, they don't not Vanderbilt. The Villanova guys don't bother me. At least they're not from that awful place called Pew.
You know, someone said at my job that they're like, Duke doesn't put any great pro. I'm like, okay, hold on. That might have been the case pre-Grant Hill. But since, first of all, Carlos Boozer was on the Redeem team, multiple All-Star solid player. Grant Hill, if he didn't get hurt, would be a top 50 NBA player. Kyrie Irving has won a ring. Paolo Banchero is a great up-and-coming player. Jason Tatum has won a ring. So all this, over the last 5 to 7 years, the pros that have gone to the NBA are way better than anything North Carolina has sent to the NBA.
I'm gonna give you a gift. Cooper Flagg will be a very good NBA player. There you go.
I think
I said.
Have you seen Paolo Banchero play? He is unbelievable.
Oh yeah, Banchero's a very good player as well.
Yeah.
Yep. But again, as long as they weren't coached by that criminal who could have walked down Fifth Avenue and shot somebody and not gotten a murder charge on it.
Okay. Then, please don't compare him to the most evil man on the planet.
Okay, he'll walk down 7th Ave. Okay.
Wow. Now listen. During the 90s, there was a time where Roy Williams certainly surpassed Coach K. But then Coach K kind of started taking the one and dones. He never wanted to take the one and dones, but he said, we're going into the NCAA tournament and the one and dones are beating us. So if you can't beat them, join them. But over the last 5-10 years, the Duke pros have been outshining North Carolina. It's not even close.
Yeah, the Tar Heels are now in a little different place than they used to be.
Can I ask you a question regarding this? Because one of the coaches where I work, we were bringing this up. One of the things, the reason why John Shire was named to replace Coach K is Coach K says even as an assistant, when we had recruits on during meetings, he commands the room. We go on. Hubert Davis was the meekest pro in the history of Knicks. He's so quiet. He's so unassuming. Yep. Even his staff, there's no one on that staff except for maybe Lebo, Jeff Lebo, he's still on the staff, right? Former North Carolina player, who has any gravitas or personality. Like Shire's guys are all dressed to the nine. They command. They're confident. Hubert Davis, to me, like if you shook his hand, I would think it's like a flimsy noodle. He doesn't command. He's not like an alpha. And to be a coach, whether you like Calipari, Rick Pitino, two of the guys I despise the most in the coaching profession, they're alphas. John Shire is an alpha.
Yep.
What does Hubert Davis command?
No, he doesn't command much of anything. He really doesn't. And that's an issue because Dean Smith commanded your attention.
Yes.
Roy Williams commanded your attention.
Yep.
They were very good. But again, Hubert is a solid guy. He is a good coach. But again, do you know who Jesse Hawley is?
No.
He's the former Cowboys wide receiver who also won a basketball national championship with the UNC Tar Heels.
Oh, okay, okay.
He's the guy that won the reality show
Yes, I know
become
who
a
you're talking
Dallas
about.
Cowboy wide receiver.
Yes, I know who you're talking about now.
I would love him to go home and recruit. Go
Jerry Stackhouse. Why not Jerry Stackhouse?
Do somebody. But again, because I thought Stackhouse was going to be the head coach. I really did.
So did I. I think Stackhouse would be a great former North Carolina guy, was phenomenal. I just don't understand how Hubert Davis, I understand loyalty, I understand, but there are certain guys, there are certain guys who are better assistants than they are head coaches.
Yep. And Hubert Davis is one of them.
Yeah.
Just like Garrett was a decent assistant coach.
Oh, yeah.
A horrible head coach. Horrible.
North Turner. Rex Ryan.
Terrible. Yeah, Rex Ryan. A great assistant, and all that jazz. But boy, as a head coach, they were just terrible. But hey, those guys get the jobs. So,
Greg, speaking of, can I just add before we move on? Just because I wanted to get your thoughts on this like 2 months ago. So, I don't understand. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again.
Yep.
So I don't understand. I'm not saying you have to hire Dion. I wouldn't want that circus on my football team. But how the hell do you go with Brian Schottenheimer, who's been a mediocre coordinator at best? I've seen this guy. His playbook is run, and then throw on third down. How, if you want to be the Dallas Cowboys, and again, this has a lot to do with Jerry Jones wanting yes men around him.
Oh yeah.
How do you hire this guy? Because the Washington's getting better. The Eagles always have great off seasons. They just won a Super Bowl, embarrassed the Chiefs in one of the most dominating performances I've ever seen. The first 3 quarters, the Chiefs couldn't do anything. How do you hire Schottenheimer as your head coach?
Schottenheimer apparently was in Stephen Jones' ear because he was the quote unquote OC, even though McCarthy was calling the plays, right?
Right.
So if you thought that he was running the football, well, guess what? They didn't run the football. They were 30th in the NFL.
Yeah. Well, that's because you have you bring back Ezekiel Elliott. I mean, what are you doing?
Well, yeah, but again, they didn't have Dak either last year, right? Yeah, he has lost his decision-making abilities, that's for sure. But Schottenheimer was in Stephen Jones's ear, and Stephen makes most of those decisions now. He really does.
But Greg, like bring someone who's create, like look at. I mean, if everyone talks about the Bill Belichick tree and why their coaches don't have success, and I think one of the reasons is Bill Belichick never let his assistants talk to the media.
Nope.
And being a head coach, you have to do all that stuff. One of the things that, if you look at the Shanahan coaching tree, he's got his son, he's got McVay, he's got LaFleur. I mean, I would pick someone from the Green Bay staff, someone offensively, because let's be honest, you're not going to stop Washington. You're not going to stop Philadelphia. And when I mean stop them, they're going to score 24 points. So you need someone offensively who's going to be an offensive genius, like a Sean McVay, like a Matt LaFleur. Someone, I mean, you look at what Washington did last year before they met Philadelphia in the NFC Championship. How are you going into this season thinking like, yeah, we could score with them? Because you're not going to be able to score with Philadelphia. You're not going to be able to score with Washington.
Okay. Washington has no defensive ends. They have no defensive ends. They have no edge rushing.
And they got to the conference championship.
Yeah, but they still didn't address that in this year's draft, right? That's why I think that the Commanders go after Trey Hendrickson from the Bengals. Bottom line, I think Washington has the cap space to do this. So if they do that, well, they've got a good edge rusher. But
or go after Crosby from Vegas.
But the Eagles have lost 4,500 defensive snaps from last season. That is a lot of football snaps.
Well, Greg, you're making my point for me then. Why not bring in a young, progressive offensive coach? Because like you said, the Eagles are still going to be able to score as long as they have Barkley and Jalen Hurts. Washington with their quarterback is going to be fine offensively. You know, you got to play Detroit, who, even though they lost both their corners, has a dual threat running back, has a great wide receiver. You got to play Minnesota, who, for all accounts,
this year just sucks because the Cowboys went 7-10 without Dak Prescott, and they have the fourth hardest schedule in the NFL. What?
Have you seen the Bears schedule, Greg? I'm going to pull it up, and it's unbelievable. But yeah, no. So what I'm saying is, like, unless they're tanking for Manning or someone.
Well, Arch Manning does not come out until 2027. I'm telling you now, he is not coming out in this year's draft. Cooper Manning, Archie, the grandfather, and even Arch himself. He is committed to being a 4-year college student. That's the bottom line of Arch Manning. So he doesn't come out in this year's draft.
Okay. All right. So listen to the schedule here. Ready? For the Bears, Minnesota, Detroit. They play Dallas. They play the Raiders. Those are easy. Now look at this. Washington, Saints. And now listen to the end of the schedule. Baltimore, Cincinnati, Minnesota, Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, Green Bay, Cleveland's a win. Green Bay, San Francisco, Detroit. You're looking at 0-8 just on the schedule for the Bears, who got a brand new offensive coordinator from Detroit. That schedule is brutal, and they didn't make the playoffs last year, so this is why I'm bringing it up. Dallas' schedule is brutal too. Yeah,
it's just the way of the cookie crumbles, because this year you have to play the NFC North. Those 3 teams made the playoffs last year,
and Bears should be better.
Yeah, and then the other division that we get this year was also all playoff bound. It was just like, huh?
Yeah, it makes.
We get the AFC West. Kansas City,
so
San Diego,
Chargers, Denver. Yeah. Okay.
Right.
Wow.
What the hell is this? Where's our cupcake schedule?
It makes no sense, because normally when you don't make the playoffs, you have a very easy schedule.
Yeah, not this year. But again, Dak Prescott is healthy. He just had his second child, by the way. Congratulations, Dak. That was
Greg, but Greg, I'm not trying to get into. We've been agreeing on everything, but Dak Prescott is the 3rd best quarterback in that division.
He could be.
So how are you going to win with that?
But again, I don't plan on seeing the Cowboys in any Super Bowl as long as JJ's alive. I think I'll come out here and I'll tell you that the Cowboys can win more than 7 games this year.
So I would say 8 and 9. 8 and 9.
Because they can. Micah Parsons missed those games last year as well without Dak in the lineup as well, right? You keep Micah Parsons healthy, and what they've added has been very good additions. Even though they're not the big name free agents, those guys they've added. Peyton Turner is a solid edge player against the run. They've added the linebacker from Tennessee and the kid from Chicago.
Greg, the worst thing to be, you know this, the worst thing to be is 8 and 9, 9 and 8.
Oh, yeah.
You either want to be 3 and 14 or 14 and 3. So this is what I'm saying. Like, and let's be honest, the Cowboys have hit on some good draft picks, right? You love Parsons. CeeDee Lamb.
They've got more Pro Bowlers. They've got more Pro Bowlers since Will McClay has taken the handle of the draft for the Cowboys than any other team in the league. More Pro Bowlers. But again, what does it lead to? No success in the playoffs. That's the part that frustrates me and every other Cowboys fan is, why can't you get your BS together? I don't care. And Brock laughs at me when I say this. If the Cowboys make the playoffs, I'm locking those boys up. They're in a hotel room. There's no girlfriends. There's no wives. There's no nothing. You are going to play football. That's your job.
The reason why the Cowboys don't have playoff success, it has nothing to do with the talent on the field. A few years ago, the Packers destroyed them. I thought the Cowboys had more talent. It's because, you know this, as the competition gets better, the coaching gets better. And the coaching for the Cowboys is never elite. It hasn't been elite since Jimmy Johnson.
Since Jimmy Johnson. Because I've said the 95 team, a chimpanzee could have coached that 95 team.
Exactly.
More than Barry Switzer ever did.
Which basically what Barry Switzer was, a chimpanzee who drank a lot.
Yeah.
So,
but again, that's been the issue for the Cowboys, and it's going to remain that same problem. It's going to be a nightmare as long as JJ still is alive and owns that team, and then his heir apparent is Steven. Well, that's no laughing matter either, because as George said earlier here about the Bus family
decline. Yeah. Oh,
well, no, he talked about the Bus family.
yeah.
Oh, there it is. Stephen Jones reminds me of the Bus children trying to run the Lakers. Well, Stephen will.
They did win a title. They did win a title.
Yeah,
the Lakers did.
Jeannie took over.
Yeah.
And she ran the team properly until, of course, she hired that horrible coach.
Yeah.
It's unforgivable. I don't care. It's unforgivable.
By the way, they showed a video of Luka at some event. He's lost about 17, 18 pounds. He looks lean as hell.
Yeah, he apparently is getting in basketball shape, which he was when he was a young kid.
Listen, he dunked his first year in the league. He dunked 25 times. Last year, he dunked two. Yeah. So, and he's 6'9". So what do we do?
Yep. He got lazy. I don't care what anybody says. He got lazy, and you can't be a winner in the NBA by being a lazy player. You just can't. Look at Charles Barkley. I mean, when Moses Malone said, "Hey, you're going to lose your weight, and you're going to lose it starting today," Moses Malone spoke, and that was that.
He said you're fat. He said you're a fat bastard. That's what the problem is. Yeah.
Boom. And Charles, of course, he didn't get to a title, but boy, he was a hell of a good player from that time on.
Carmelo Anthony was lazy.
Yep.
Carmelo Anthony had all the skill in the world, but he just didn't like to practice. Came into shit. They're saying the same thing about Jamal Murray. They're saying Jamal Murray uses the regular season to get in shape. They say he doesn't work out that hard in the offseason.
Well, he had that knee injury though, right?
Yeah, no,
so
but
they're going to get rid of him. But again, they rely upon this injury nonsense. Kawhi Leonard with load management, right? I mean, that whole nonsense just drives me off the deep end. I mean, as much as I don't like Jordan because he didn't play the Carolina way as a pro, that man was out there 82 games a night.
Well,
he was out there.
This is what you do, Greg. There's a simple solution to this. If you sit out a game, let's say you sit out on a Monday, you have to sit out the entire week. So you can't play till the following Monday. So this way, guys, and this way you can't cheat the system. If you're going to be out for one game, you miss 1 week. So if you're out Monday, you don't play till Monday. If you're out Wednesday, you don't play till the following Wednesday. They got to start. They're losing fans. They're losing fans.
You've got the injury list in baseball, 10 games, and then 60. It used to be 15, but now it's a 10-game.
I just don't understand. You know how many times I want to watch a game because, I do DraftKings, I do fantasy. George, nobody cares about the money-making Dodgers. Can we stop posting about the Dodgers score right there? Although they are playing the Yankees, so that is good news.
That's for Jeff and Joe. That's for Jeff and Joe.
This is the only time I root for the Dodgers is when they play the Yankees. But you know how many times I wanted to watch a game? And again, you and I had this argument like 2-3 years ago, and everyone on Team NBS Media killed me because I said I would rather have Trae Young over John Morant. And all you guys were like, I was like, John Morant, you can't rely on him. You can't. Trae Young plays all the time. He played 76 games this year. You do not. This. The only times I watch it.
You also failed because you said this earlier. You can't judge a trade immediately, and you did judge DeJounte Murray and Trae Young was going to be the best backcourt in the league. I'm like, what? They haven't played a minute together. They have not played a single minute together.
Listen, they were second in backcourt combination in plus minus. They were second. So Atlanta's incompetent. So Trae Young should get out of there. But my point is,
there you go.
My point is I want, how many times I went to watch TV and the stars of both teams aren't even playing on a TNT doubleheader. And it's I watched less NBA this year than I ever have in my life. And I'm an NBA junkie because I'm Jokic's not playing. Shea played in a lot of games, but I'm like, Giannis isn't playing. This guy, I'm like, I'm done.
I mean, I'm doing summer scouting for the 2026 NFL draft right now.
So you're not
So
even paying attention to it. Right.
I'm watching the games, but
Well,
again,
the
my
play
focus
easy because they don't.
my focus is on the NFL draft. Still,
Yeah, I mean, I don't. I again, the simple solution would be to do what I said. If you miss one game on a Monday, you're out a week. The second solution would be
there's my brother. I watched maybe 2 Lakers games this year in Los Angeles. My brother.
Wow.
See, because again, it is just horrifying to watch NBA basketball, and it's really gotten to that point.
Yeah.
Except when you see the OKC Thunder and the
And the
Indiana
Pacers. Yeah, they play team basketball.
The way that you should, because they both play the game the way that you should be playing basketball.
And I got to give credit to my friend Andrea, because like 2 years ago, she's like, I'm telling you, there's something about this Pacer teams. I feel like they're going to make a run in the next couple of years. She called it when no one was watching them. But Greg, go back to my point. This is how you solve the NBA problem. You play 68 games. Okay, no back-to-backs.
Yeah.
Okay, you don't play more than 3 games a week. And instead of having 10 teams make the playoffs, Greg, you have 6 teams make the playoffs. And if you want to do best 5 out of 7, so there's more games, but stop with this nonsense because no one cares. March Madness is great, but no one watches college basketball anymore. No one during the regular season. They all watch March Madness because it doesn't mean anything. The NBA season, when you have 10 teams and this play-in game, it doesn't mean anything. Stop it. Make it more competitive.
And my brother George, your USC Trojans, you suck. If you don't want to play Notre Dame every year anymore, you guys totally suck. Lincoln Riley should be shot for his idea, and it is ridiculous that the USC Trojans,
especially since they're going to expand the playoffs now, so like it's all about strength of schedule.
It's totally ridiculous.
No, it's terrible.
That USC only wants to play Notre Dame week 1, and they want it at a neutral site too. Are you kidding me?
But I do like a neutral site because then you have anytime like when Georgia plays Oregon or like Alabama plays, let's say like a Texas at a neutral site, that's fun because both fans get to enjoy it.
But every Thanksgiving weekend, when it's USC's turn, when USC plays host to that game, Notre Dame goes out every Thanksgiving. Yeah. I want the USC Trojans to come out and play us in the snow. You come out and play us in the snow because we're willing to go out and travel to warm, sunny California and play you. You guys come and play us. See, there he is. See, I knew he would be. I knew he would be PO'd about that. It is just garbage.
No, it is. And I'll say this quickly, too, as well. If Lincoln Riley doesn't win this year, he's going to be on the hot seat because, let's be honest, he's went to USC and they have underachieved. The word of Lincoln Riley is he doesn't – it's almost like he's not upset. One thing about John Shire, one thing about Dan Lanning in Oregon, even though Oregon may never win a title in my lifetime, Dan Lanning loves recruiting. Lincoln Riley doesn't like to recruit. He doesn't like it. And that's one of the reasons why Nick Saban got out of coaching, because he had to compete with a Kirby Smart. He had to compete with some of his assistants. The guy at Texas, what's his name? I can't even think of his name. Sarkisian, who normally Alabama would turn away guys and their third stringers would be in line to play. Now you got to go. One thing about Dan Lanning, I follow him on social media. That guy is flying all over the country, and that's why the Ducks, since he's been there, have had a top 3 recruiting class. Lincoln Riley doesn't like the grind. He's a pretty boy. He likes to shine. He likes the offense. But you know this, Greg. You win games in the trenches.
And guess who the top 2 schools are for the 2026 recruiting year?
Notre Dame.
You know who they are?
Notre Dame.
USC is 1 and Notre Dame is number 2.
Are you serious?
Yep.
I'm surprised USC is up there.
They've got a huge recruiting year this year. I mean, huge for next year, for 2026.
Oh, for 20. I didn't see that.
Yeah, well, and Notre Dame is number 2.
I will say this: both of those schools have an unlimited supply of cash for the NFL players. And forget about USC's graduation because it's a fake school. But Notre Dame, they have alumni who billion-dollar corporation, multi-million-dollar corporations. So their alumni who are students can donate. Where USC, it's a paper. It's just a piece of paper when you graduate from that school.
See, but that's going to stop Lincoln Riley right there, because the boosters are going to pull money if they cancel that game.
Yeah,
that is just totally
He's
ridiculous.
in hot water. If he doesn't win this year, he's in hot water.
Yep. And when I read that, I was just red hot, and I didn't message George. I stayed calm. Okay. But of course he's here tonight, so I had to mention that. It was just, no, you don't touch that game. You do not touch that game.
There are certain games, like, to be honest, like over the last 10, 12 years, it's not even a rivalry. Every once in 7 years, Oregon State would beat Oregon. Not like it was in the 70s and 80s, but you don't touch that game, even though you left.
That's right.
To go to you leave that game. You leave certain games, alone. Like West Virginia Pitt, the backyard brawl.
Last year, week 3 though, Oregon versus Oregon State. That's got Washington State versus Washington in week 3. Yeah, that is not.
Yeah. You got. I understand schools leaving and going to better conferences, but you got to leave these traditional games. Again, West Virginia, Pittsburgh, the backyard brawl is a huge interstate rivalry. So Clemson, South Carolina is always big. You got to leave those games.
Does Virginia Tech have the best opening in football?
Oh my God, Enter Sandman! It's unbelievable. My dad's one of my.
Did you see them appear there this month?
I did not, but one of my dad's friends was a teacher at Virginia Tech like 10 years ago or 15 years ago when Michael Vick was there. And they said the open, and also Penn State's whiteout is pretty badass too.
Oh yeah. Penn State's whiteout is awesome. Actually, Tuesday night, Randall and myself, Randall Slifer from Team NBS Media, we're going to be on the Draft Professor show. We're going to be talking about the Penn State draftees for the 2026 NFL season.
Oh, nice. Yeah. I know his name's son is a linebacker there, and he looks like he's bigger than him when he's a freshman.
Arrington.
LeVar Arrington's son,
he's going to be a monster. And he's wearing number 11.
Again, Greg, Penn State is the same thing as Oregon. They never beat Ohio State or Michigan. They can never. They're always going to go 11-2. And you know what? It is what it is. They just can never beat either Ohio State or Michigan like Oregon. Oregon will always be a great regular, like my Packers. I think the Packers are always a great regular season team, but I have no aspirations in Oregon winning the championship or Green Bay winning a Super Bowl. But they're fun to watch during the regular season. Same with Penn State. Penn State fans are delusional. You think you're going to get a better coach than what you have now? It's not easy to beat Ohio State.
It's Ohio State was pounding on Michigan for years. Then Harbaugh came in, and of course
took them a few years.
Yeah,
took Harbaugh a few years.
But they've got the mark against the Ohio State Buckeyes right now.
Yeah.
Until that changes, that school up north, and this year really drives me crazy because that school up north, who in 1921 Fielding Yost denied Notre Dame's entrance into the Big Ten. He denied Knute Rockne coming into the Big Ten. So everybody whines and cries about Notre Dame not being a part of a conference. Well, there's the man to blame. But C.J. Carr, the grandson of the former head coach of the Wolverines, is going to be the quarterback of the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Well, that would be sweet.
I'll say this too. It's amazing because Les Miles was winning 11 games a year. And for 3 years in a row, he had more draft picks in the first round going than Nick Saban did. But Les Miles got fired because he couldn't beat Nick Saban. And my whole thing was, how many people can beat Nick Saban? It's not easy. It's not easy to beat Jim Harbaugh. It's not easy to beat Ohio State. You can put whatever coach you want Ohio State over the last 15 years. They have 3 national championships with 3 different coaches. So, I lived in Ohio. Every kid wants to go to Ohio State. It's not easy to beat Alabama. It's not easy to beat, and they fired Les Miles, and I know they won a championship. They had a magical year with Joe Burrow and Edward Jerome.
We've had 25 college seasons this century. What's the best school? What's the best school in the last 25 years?
Best record?
best school in college football in the last 25 years, not the best record, the school. It's LSU. Les Miles, because of the draft picks, right? Les Miles, Ed Orgeron won the title, and even stinking Brian Kelly. He's firing out guys left, right, and center.
He's in trouble too.
LSU is the school of the quarter
NFL
century.
factory. Yeah, it's LSU, Alabama. Yeah, no, those obviously. Texas is now on the. I know Clemson had for like 4 straight years. Clemson had, I think, 40 guys drafted in like a 5-year run. So Clemson as well. Yeah, it's amazing. But again, Les Miles got fired. So all these people who want to fire Franklin out in Penn State, the guy wins 11 games a year. Well, what do you want him to do? Yeah,
that was the Roll Tide boosters who were doing that. And of course we all know what that led to. But again, that's where my beef was against the SEC teams was their boosters giving those kids that type of money when it wasn't legal and it was going on. It was happening. I knew it was happening, and the NCAA, with no teeth yet again, did nothing to stop that.
But again, people say there's an SEC bias. There wasn't a bias. They just put more pros in the NFL than any 2 or 3 conferences combined. I remember the year after Tebow left, the SEC, when Alabama, I think, won their first time or second time, I think 20 of the first 40 picks were SEC football players. That is insane. Like, the SEC is just a football NFL factory. But so again, there's not it's evening out now. It's even.
Yeah, the Big Ten and even that last year of the Pac-12.
Pac-12 was great the final year. Yeah.
Oh, that was just they were just loaded with pro after pro after pro. So that was tremendous. So Monty, I know that the Pacers in the next game has started here. So before we go, tell everybody what you do.
Yeah, sure. So I am the voice of the University of Fort Lauderdale Eagles. I do the play-by-play voice for the football team, men's and women's basketball, baseball, softball. I actually got to announce the South region for the softball tournament in Fort Lauderdale. The softball team won the championship, and we have a coach. His name is Billy Glessner. He is also the baseball coach and the softball coach. So I was also the play-by-play voice for the South region playoff team, and the baseball team won as well. So Billy Glessner is the head coach for both teams, and his softball team finished 3rd in the NCCAA, which is the National Christian Collegiate Association of America. It's Division I. And the baseball team made it to the World Series again, and they finished 7th in the country. So I'm the play-by-play voice for them. I have a lot of things going on right now, so I don't know what's going to happen over the next 6 months, but you could follow me. My YouTube page is about to hit 2 million views. Started it over about a year ago. My Facebook Reels has hit over 25 million views, and my TikTok has hit 15 million views. So I post 1 or 2 videos, sports videos a day on trending topics, doing a lot of Caitlin Clark right now. And I'm going to start my YouTube shows up again. You can just go to YouTube and subscribe to the Full Monty Sports Show channel, and you'll be able to see everything I do there. It's always a pleasure to come on here and talk with Greg. I've known Greg now for, seems like, almost a decade. It's probably not as long, but, always great to join the team NBS Media.
It's been 8 years. It's been 8
years. 8 years. Wow. Yeah. So I've known Greg a long time. I started when I first started writing, I started doing podcasts. I'm also, I'm in charge of all the social media for the university. I write all the articles, recap articles, and I'm also the sports information director. So I have to do all the stats. So I'm kind of really busy with that. They keep me busy. But again, just follow me on the Full Monty Sports Show channel on YouTube. Again, my YouTube channel is going to hit about 2 million views, and we're going to have about 2,000 subscribers in just a little over a year. So we're doing well on social media with my sports shorts that I post every day.
Well, that's awesome, Monty. Before we do go, I want you to do you see
stop.
that? Do you see that?
I see that, Greg. Okay. All right. Greg, all your teams are doing well. You got to be. Edmonton's doing well.
I'm a happy man. I'm a happy man because the Liverpool Reds and their fans. This time, their fans got to be out there. Unfortunately, they had the incident
Yes,
Everybody
which is
is
national attention.
everybody is fine. There was no deaths, thank goodness. But again, we had an idiot with a vehicle do his thing, and that was sad. But the Liverpool Reds won the Premier League. They destroyed everybody this year. They did suck in the Champions League and they lost the Carabao Cup, but again, winning that Premier League is the biggest thing that matters.
That's the biggest thing. And Greg, will they be able? Do they have a nucleus?
Oh yeah.
I mean, is it a good mix of young and old?
Well, you see, I'm wearing my Netherland jersey.
Yeah, no, I noticed that right away. I was hoping you wouldn't bring it up, but go ahead.
Virgil van Dijk is the best center back in the world, and of course he's Dutch. And they have Gakpo, who's another Dutchman. They've already got a replacement for Trent Alexander-Arnold. He's already in town, signed, sealed, delivered. The Liverpool Reds are going to destroy the 20 number that Man United have. Those cheating bunch of scumbags.
Stop it.
What?
Why are you?
What?
Greg, they're phenomenal every year. They're one of
no, they're not. They finished 15th this year, and they don't even qualify for the Europa League.
They've been the New York Yankees over the last 20 years, right? Always consistent, always dominant. That's who people think of when you think of European soccer.
Yeah, but that's because they didn't understand European soccer in the 70s and the 80s when I grew up with it. Right. Because Bill Paisley was in charge of the Liverpool Reds, and they won six titles in 9 years of the league before it became the Premier League, which is just Premier League is just an invention of Sky Sports, right?
Is it? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I didn't know that at all.
Yeah, Sky Sports created the Premier League, and they loaded up cash to the teams. Right. So this Premier League noise that I always hear, like Alan Shearer is the best Premier League goal scorer of all time. Yeah. Try Ian Rush, who scored 346 goals playing for Liverpool and only scored 4 penalties. Four penalty kicks.
Wow.
He scored 342 goals for the Liverpool Reds. Huh? Oh, I guess that Shearer's 280 doesn't quite cut it. But again,
Greg, my final question for you. So if Indiana wins and OKC wins, I have OKC winning in 5.
I have OKC in 5. Easily. Okay. 5. Okay. OKC is the class of this league, and they're going to remain the class of this league. They were 68-14, which is tied for the 5th best record of all time. And with the young players that they have, with the 2 draft picks, first-round picks for the next 3 years, get used to it. Oh,
yeah.
No,
listen. I think the Knicks.
Adam Silver. He can whine all he wants about losing the ad revenues, but no.
Getting Hardestein was one of the smartest moves this year. It was so it was under the and Caruso too. But getting him in that starting lineup, he's a double machine.
Yep.
He doesn't need the ball, and he does all the dirty work.
Absolutely. And I think OKC is going to be a team that can actually win 2 or 3 titles in a row.
Yeah. And I'd love to see it. I'd love to see it. Because Greg, let's be honest. They tried so long to bring in like a Carmelo, to bring in a Paul George, and I said this all along. You can win that way, but even the Miami Heat, it was Chalmers, it was Haslam, it was D Wade. They brought in guys. Golden State Warriors. You get Klay Thompson, you draft Steph Curry, you draft Draymond Green. Then they won without KD. You bring KD in. And now look at the Pacers. I know they traded for Halliburton, which, by the way, you're the Sacramento Kings. You have Fox and Halliburton, and someone posted this. Now they have DeMar DeRozan and what's his name? The other guy from Chicago, who they just traded off of. I forget his name. No, the guard. Who's in the slam dunk contest. Anyway. So the point is, like, you bring in Halliburton, you get Obi Toppin, TJ McConnell's so underappreciated. You draft Turner, you go for you got to build through the draft and then add pieces. It's not the other way around. You can't add pieces. That you got to draft a superstar or get a young superstar in a trade who's 23, 24, like a Paul George. That's the way to build in the NBA, and that's why the Knicks have always failed, because the Knicks have had two stars who they drafted made the All-Star game, and they traded him the following year in Porzingis and David Lee. The Knicks have never built through the draft. You got to do both. You can't just always sign free agents and expect, drafting in the second round to get a superstar, especially with the Knicks, who don't have the vision or haven't had the vision to develop draft picks. I love seeing Chet Holmgren, Williams. I love seeing Steph Curry. I love seeing Giannis. These guys who get drafted and they just develop and they grow. That's the way to build a team.
SGA was not considered to be a great NBA draft pick.
No, he wasn't.
But what did he do? He listened to his coach. He listened,
worked his ass off,
and then he worked his butt off. Is right.
Yep.
And that man does everything the right way. You don't hear of any BS on the road with that man. He's married to a girl who's from his hometown of Hamilton, Ontario.
Doesn't talk a lot of trash.
She played soccer at a school in the Northeast there, but he just does everything the right way.
Yes, he does.
And that's why it's so beautiful to see SGA win the MVP award this year, and I think he will win the NBA Finals MVP as well.
Greg, even when they interview him after the game, he makes his teammates stand behind him because he's like, they're all part of it.
And he praises all of them, everybody. He doesn't put anything on himself.
Nope.
And again, we've had this discussion about Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark is doing the SGA thing. Angel Reese says it's all about me. No,
correct.
You are a part of a team, Angel. Right. You are a member of a team. You give your teammates their due. Like Dak Prescott, I give him credit because, that man puts everything, all the weight of the world of being the quarterback of the Cowboys is on that man. But what does he always do? He recognizes his teammates. Always, always, always.
Yeah, that's the way you got to be. And that's why players love SGA, because he's all about his team. When he does commercials, he brings his teammates in with him, so they all get part of the pie. He's like, it's not about me, it's about us.
Yep. And even up in Toronto now with Scotty Barnes running the organization there. Scotty Barnes is the Subway king up here. He does the Subway commercials instead of Charles Barkley, right? He does the Google phones. You make a lot of money playing in Toronto off the court.
Yeah.
And players are now realizing this.
Yeah, you could listen. That's why, you look at the NFL, right? The Chiefs for years, small market, winning it. You can win in small markets. It's not like the olden days where you had to be in New York, Chicago, LA, Texas. You can win anywhere.
Yep.
And make money anywhere.
Yep. Like I said, Dak Prescott has more endorsement dollars per year than any other player in the NFL.
That's insane.
That's more than Mahomes. He was making that money when Brady was still around as well.
Well, when you're the Dallas Cowboys quarterback,
Bingo.
America's team,
Bingo. Yeah. So again, Dak, did you need to become the highest paid quarterback? No. But he ended up in a situation where Jerry and Steven made him wait, and the agent said, "Screw you. You're done. You're done."
I think the problem with the agents now too is the agents, they do their job tremendously and they only look out for their player, but the player has to look out for the team. And that's why we're seeing certain players who won't get paid max dollars because they want the team. But the agent's like, look, we're going to get you this money. And the agent's doing his job, but the agent never has the best interest of the team.
No. And again, that's their job. Their job is to represent players.
Yeah.
So they're doing their job. Like that lady who represents Myles Garrett was so good this year. She took the Browns to the bank.
Well, and props to someone like Jalen Hurts, who has an all-female marketing manager. Like he has all, everyone who he works for is a woman, and he's like, because one, I want a woman I want more women in this industry doing this, and two, I've made it perfectly clear that it's got to be about how we win, because when you win a Super Bowl, when you win, and most teams don't understand this, when you win, everything else makes money. Like the Cincinnati Bengals are the cheapest team in the NFL. They don't realize that they invest in money.
Which is why
they're going to get money.
This is why I keep screaming at Jerry and Steven. You're the wealthiest team in all the world.
Yeah.
The wealthiest. Do you know how much more money you'd be worth if you actually won a Super Bowl? Allowed a team to win a Super Bowl?
Yeah. People don't realize that. Short-sighted.
Yeah. And the same applies to Dolan. That man is just he is so stupid.
He's just so incompetent. You know, he once said, my brother always brings up, he once said, I don't judge my coaches by wins and losses. What do you judge them by? How many times they go out to dinner with you because you're borderline, no one wants to hang out with you. You have no friends. I don't judge my team by wins and losses. What? This isn't a high school development team. This isn't 5th and 6th grade biddy ball. This is the damn NBA and NHL. What do you judge them for?
Yep.
And that's one of the reasons. That's one of the reasons why I don't want the Knicks to win. I don't want this guy to. There's nothing we're seeing in America now with the way certain politicians just cheat and lie and scam their way. There's nothing good about James Dolan. So I have a problem rooting for him because if he wins for being so incompetent, it's like, what the hell are we doing here? I like grinders. Yep. I like the way the Indiana Pacers have built their team. I like their head coach. I like the way Oklahoma City Thunder has built their team. They develop a team atmosphere. James Dolan is such an evil person.
Mark Daniel, the coach of the Thunder in his first 2 years, was 23 and 24 wins.
And they kept with him. Yeah, they stuck with him. They didn't fire him.
They didn't fire him.
Yeah.
Geez, what would happen to a Knicks coach if they only had 23 wins?
Listen, we've seen. I don't know because he doesn't judge his coaches by wins and losses.
Well, yeah.
So who knows? Yeah. Who knows what's going on? All right, Greg. Thanks so much for having me on, man.
Okay. So who do you have winning the Stanley Cup final?
I have Florida winning in 7 again.
Okay, we're going to disagree because Edmonton has home ice advantage this year. I think it goes 7. Edmonton wins it.
I hope they do. Listen, my heart, but I've always wanted to vote Tampa Bay out, and they won a bunch of cups, and now Florida. It's hard to root against. I just think they know how to win. I think Edmonton has more talent, and I think Edmonton is a better team, but I think Florida's going to use their experience, and they're going to win. And I think my Mets, I don't think the Dodgers are going to repeat. I think the Mets, with their pitching staff and Juan Soto gets hot, I think the Mets are the best team in the National League. And I don't know who they're going to play in the American League.
Well, I have always been a Cardinals fan, and I'm shocked that they're in second place with as young as that team is.
But you know what? St. Louis, one thing about St. Louis, I have a friend who used to live there. They talk St. Louis Cardinals 24/7, 365. Oh, yeah. They live for the Cardinals. So you knew it wasn't going to be by the way, other than the Yankees over the last 20 years, they have the most seasons over 500. So they're a great organization.
Yep. But again, they went very young this year, and it was no, this is going to be pretty. But they're in second place right now.
Yeah, they're playing well. They're playing well.
They're playing well. Your lovely sister was down to see you last weekend?
Yes, she was. Yes, my sister, yes. My sisters have been there's a lot of talk going on in my family now because my parents maybe going back to New Jersey. We'll see. We'll see what's going on there.
Oh,
we're in Florida. Lord. So we have, the thing is, my parents are getting up there in age, and I don't know if I want them going back to the cold weather. Here in Florida, here in Florida, they could go where they live. Everything's accessible, malls.
But as I've said before, your parents are great people.
Yes.
And they are very nice people. And your sister is a great lady. And your brother is even a nice guy. What the hell happened with you?
Listen, everyone has to have the black sheep in the family. So that is me. So my sister Diane was here, and then my sister Cynthia was here a couple of weeks ago. I think my niece and my sister are coming down in a few weeks. They're trying to convince my parents to move back up north because my parents had like 5 or 6 friends here, couples, and they've all moved away. So my parents are now kind of like, okay, what are we doing here? Why don't we go back up, back to Jersey? So we'll figure it out. Again, I do miss the Four Seasons. I don't like it being 75 degrees during Christmas. I do like the fall, and I do like the winter for a little bit. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, the problem here living in Florida is anytime a family member comes down, anytime it's a cousin, family member, friend, they think that I'm on vacation because they're on vacation. So they want to go out and drink. They want to go to the beach. And I'm like, hey man, I got a double header today. When I did this,
I've got to work.
Yeah, when I did the South region, I did 4 softball games in one day. I did 4 baseball games in one day. So, it was like get to the ballpark at 10 o'clock. The final game, Greg, and I'll end with this, the final game between Payne and Carolina, Payne University, Carolina, after doing 4 games, the winner of this was going to play Fort Lauderdale the following day. It went 12 innings. Softball is 7. I was like, You got to be kidding me. We started broadcasting. I got there at 10. I didn't get home till like 12:30, 1 o'clock. My voice was shot like it is now, but it was, errors. One team went up 5 runs in the bottom of the 8th. The other team scored 5 runs. In the top of the 8th, the other team scored 5 runs. And I was just like, does it have to be the 4th game? But I will say this, a lot of parents who weren't from our university who were watching on YouTube were emailing me and saying, thank you so much for doing this. I got a lot of compliments, got a lot of good feedback. And again, congratulations to our school. We were the softball team was the South Region champs. The baseball team was South Region champs. One coach, Billy Glessner, won Coach of the Year. We had Alexia Gary, who was a softball pitcher. Great.
How long has Billy been the coach of both teams there? He's been there for quite a few years.
Yeah, he was there for 4 years with baseball. They made it to the World Series 4 straight years and 3 years with softball. But listen to this. The girl, Alexia Gary, our starting pitcher, she pitched in 50 out of 55 games. She pitched every doubleheader. She had a 1.32 earned run average. She had 100 more strikeouts than the next pitcher. She was South Region Player of the Year, and she was the Player of the Year in the NCCAA for softball. Senior, pitched 50 out of 55 games with a 1.32 earned run average.
That's pretty.
Greg, she pitched every doubleheader. I said Will Chamberlain scored 100 points, never going to be broken. Joe DiMaggio's 56 game hit streak, and Alexia Gary's pitching 50 games out of 55.
Wow.
And she won 38 of them.
Well,
she pitched almost every doubleheader in a row because in college softball and baseball.
Yeah, college softball, it's a doubleheader, isn't it?
She pitched every game except 5.
Wow.
That's a record that will never be broken.
Yeah.
I can't imagine another pitcher pitching 50 games.
Oh, and Gretzky's scoring record went down.
Yeah, with Ovechkin, yeah.
Ovechkin, which I was very happy to see because, as you know, I've loved Ovechkin ever since he came into this league. I've never been a huge Sidney Crosby guy. I never will be because, of course, up here they hyped him up to be the next Gretzky. And no, he's not going to be the next Gretzky. There was only one guy who had that type of offensive talent, period.
Well, Greg,
go ahead.
Think about this. Wayne Gretzky, if he didn't score goals his last 10 years, he'd still be number 1 in points because of his assists. Like it's what Gretzky did is so insane. It's beyond how if he didn't score a goal his last 10 years, he'd still be number 1 in the NHL in points scored.
Yeah, and he was on was it Eisen's or Dan Patrick's show this past week, and he was asked if he was the greatest hockey player. He said no. Gordie Howe, Gordie Howe, and Bobby Orr were the 2 best hockey players he's ever saw play. Bobby Orr is my number 1 player. Mark Messier is my 2nd player.
Messier to me was the best leader in sports. No doubt about it. I will take that to my grave. That what Mark Messier did once Gretzky left Edmonton and what he did for the Rangers. And just finally, one of the things, we talked earlier about being humble. One thing about hockey players is their parents or their coaches teach them about tradition. Some NBA players, some NFL players don't realize how good some of these former players were. They don't know who they are. But one thing about the NHL, players know the history of hockey because it's taught to them at an early age.
Yes, and the NFL players and the NBA players need to learn the same thing.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
all this nonsense about the GOAT, and I despise that term with a passion. It is just ridiculous. You are the best in your generation. That's what you are. That's it. There is no greatest of all time.
I mean, but Greg, I will say this. The best player I've ever seen, the most complete player I've ever seen is LeBron James. I mean, I don't know if he's the greatest rebound, passing, defense, score. He's the best. What he's doing at 40 years old. You look at Tim Duncan, Karl Malone, Vince Carter, Kobe. They were just role players. What LeBron James is doing.
The only other NBA player that has the same level of talent at that age was Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Oh yeah, that's true. And
that's it.
And the most unstoppable shot that no one's ever duplicated, which makes no sense.
Yep, exactly right. So, anyhow, this is Greg Cowboys, Greg Rector here, and we appreciate you coming to the Team NBS YouTube channel tonight. Please do like and subscribe to our channel. And Monty.
Oh, one more thing. I'm going to be doing halftime shows for the NBA Finals on my YouTube channel. So, Greg, maybe the first night I'll have you on.
Okay, sure, we can do that. Sure, we can do that.
Sounds good. All right, man.
Excellent.
Always a pleasure, Greg.
Oh, it's always a pleasure to see you, Monty. Take care, and everybody else out there, have a good night.